What's going on, everybody? ChromeOnRust here. We're going to be taking a look at a speed farming Torment 10 Demon Hunter build, one that is going to be kind of comparable to the UE set. Once, though, you get some pretty good gear, you get your gem levels up, and you start getting some Paragons. Before that, though, UE set is definitely going to be the way to go, so do keep that in mind. If you're like 200, 300, 400, maybe even all the way up to around 700 or 800 Paragon levels, you may still be lacking gem levels, you may still be lacking good gear, and your Paragon levels may be not giving you enough primary stat to output the deebs that you're going to need to run this particular build. Now, the thing about it is why not just run UE set? You know, if UE is that much better, you throw on a Yang's Recurve, Dead Man's Legacy, 6 pieces of UE, and you start crushing things with Focus and Restraint, and you're good to go. Now, that is a very good build, and that is the build that I was running early on, but I have to tell you, running a multi-shot build compared to a strafe build is a lot more intensive on the fingers. With the strafe build, show you my character here, I can just kind of strafe around. I'm not going to have to hold any buttons down or anything like that. I'm not using macros. I'm just num-locking my strafe. It's always going to allow me to keep moving. I just point the cursor in the direction that I want to go, and I am all set. It is a lot easier on the fingers, and that is the reason that I choose to run this build versus a UE set type of build with Deadmans and, you know, all the good stuff that makes it super OP. Now, making this build work, of course, is going to be our Legacy of Nightmare set. While this is your only item set bonus, every ancient item you have equipped is going to increase the damage that you deal by 100% and reduce the damage that you take by 4%. Now, this also includes these rings, so you want your Litany of the Undaunted and your Welling Host to also be ancient. Everything your character is wearing, you want it to be ancient. So the shoulders here are going to be very mandatory. This is the mantle of channeling. While you're channeling your strafe, you're going to be dealing 25% increased damage and reducing your damage that you are taking by 25%. So increasing damage, reducing the damage that the mobs deal to you is great. Visage of Goons, I feel this is kind of mandatory in hardcore. I would play around a little bit with it, taking out the Visage of Goons and kind of working with a Leoric's Crown or maybe the Andariel's Visage. That would be a really, really OP helm to use if I didn't need the additional mitigation. So maybe later on, once my gear starts getting better, my Paragons, my gems keep getting higher, maybe I'll be able to throw that on. Giving me a bunch more damage would be great. Now, Hellfire Amulet, this is going to be ideal. We will go over the passives that I am using for this build, but I have Called Weak on my Hellfire. Cindercoat, reducing the resource cost of fire skills by up to 30%, getting 20% fire skills damage on there, just boosting the damage, reducing your resource cost. Mage Fist, once again coming with fire skills damage, or Chechian Arm Guards. Every time you destroy a wreckable object, you're going to gain a short burst of movement speed. This is just great for speed farming Torment 10, especially if you're in like a keeps depths level. You know, you're going to have this damage or this bonus movement speed up pretty much constantly. Now for the belt, we have a Witching Hour here. Now ideally, once my damage gets higher, I do feel there's going to be better items than Witching Hour, but I feel like my damage is a little bit lacking still, even at this point, that running a Witching Hour has been very nice. Now, not running a Witching Hour, if I were not doing that, I would be using a Gold Wrap. So I take off my Witching Hour, I'd throw on a Gold Wrap. I would use an Avarice Band in the cube. Right now I'm using Convention of Elements, and then I would also put on the Boon of the Hoarder. So this is going to give you mad gold, mad survivability, and this is possibly going to be the way to go. And taking off Visage of Goons may be the way to go, but at this particular point, I've just kind of been playing the safe route, keeping on the Witching Hour, keeping on my 3 damage gems, keeping on COE in my cube, and it has been giving me the damage output necessary to run this build in Torment 10. Now, Hexing Pants of Mr. Yang, it's going to reduce the resource, or your resource generation and damage is going to be increased by 25% while moving and decreased by 24% while you're standing still. The thing is, when you're strafing or numlocking strafe, we're always going to be strafing, moving around, you're going to have the Hexing Pants buff up pretty much all the time. Firewalkers, burn the ground you walk on, dealing 321% weapon damage each second. This goes all the way up to 400% weapon damage, so I'm kind of in the hunt for a new pair of Firewalkers at this point, because the additional damage that they give is, you know, it's not tremendously noticeable, but it does speed up your runs a decent amount. Now, Vala's Bequest, I was about to say Request, Bequest, strafe projectiles are going to be piercing, as well as with the new patch, increased strafe damage is going to go from 75 all the way up to 100% on there. And then the same thing with the other weapon with Kamar's 10 clip strafe gains the effect of the drifting shadow rune. That is going to increase your movement speed, so making sure you have it on this weapon, as well as you're getting the increased strafe damage by 75 to 100% as well. Very good, very good. Now we are going to go ahead and walk over to the cube here real quick. And these are the items that I have in the cube. I have the Dawn, which is going to reduce the cooldown of your Vengeance by 65%. This is a must. Sash of Knives. With every attack, you throw out a dagger at nearby enemies for 650% weapon damage as physical. This is pretty good. You're actually throwing out a ton of daggers, getting an additional 650% weapon damage pretty much constantly is very good. It has been as well, you know, just one of those things that's just kind of giving you a little bit more power creep to push you into that speed T10 farm. Convention of Elements, you're going to be getting 2 good, you know, cycles out of this. You're going to be getting value out of the fire, as well as you're going to be getting value out of the physical, because we're going to be using the physical Vengeance. I was about to say Rain of Vengeance, but you're going to be using the physical Vengeance rune, which is Seethe, giving you a ton of hatred regeneration, as well as we're going to be using the Pain Enhancer gem, which is going to be getting benefit from the convention as well. So when your fire is up and when your physical is up, you're going to be dealing a considerable amount more damage. Now, for the rest of the gear here that I do want to talk about, you do not have to run Mage Fist. All this gear is going to be semi-optional for this build. You know, there are some pretty OP things like the Cinder Coat, Mantle of Channeling, Hexing Pants, you know, that are going to be very good for this build. But there are things like the Mage Fist where they just are really giving you more damage. They're not making this build work. And in that case, if your damage is higher, Gloves of Worship would be great. The Nemesis Bracers here, as you see, ideally, in my opinion, the absolute best Torment 10 builds are going to be able to use the Boon of the Hoarder. They're going to be able to use the Nemesis Bracers. Boon of the Hoarder, going to give you more gold, obviously. Nemesis Bracers, going to spawn you more elites faster. That's going to make you clear rifts faster. So, in my opinion, this build is still not 100% optimized. There are ways that you can make this an even better Torment 10 build. But like I said, you're going to be needing more damage, better gear, you know, more gem levels to be able to keep swapping things around and make yourself faster, make yourself output more damage, get more gold, more elite kills. Just pretty exciting build. I've been having a lot of fun throughout the season, just kind of tweaking, tuning things as I get more power and more gear. It's just been a really fun build to run. So that is the gear. And now we're just going to go ahead and jump over into the skills. I'm using Preparation with Focused Mind. You're going to need a way to generate discipline. If you do not, Crusaders, Wizards, everything is just going to blow by you like you are standing still. So making sure you have on Focused Mind or one of the other runes that is going to be giving you discipline is absolutely necessary. Vengeance with Seethe, same thing. You're going to need to gain the 10 hatred regeneration per second that the Seethe rune is giving you. As well as I said, we're running the Visage of Goons, which is going to be giving you the Dark Heart rune, which is Vengeance fills your heart, reducing all damage taken by 50%. Vengeance fills your heart. Okay, I guess I never really read that part before. Alright, we're going to go back here to Companion, Wolf Companion. You don't have to run Wolf. It's obviously just more damage buff, but if you are having trouble with hatred, I would then be running the Bat Companion, which is going to be granting you more hatred. Vault with Trail of Cinders. You don't necessarily have to run Vault, but ideally I think it's kind of the best and the only way to go if you want to be keeping up with Crusaders, be keeping up with Wizards. Trail of Cinders is going to be giving you a little bit more damage, but as well as we're using the Cinder Coat, since we're turning our Vault into a damage skill at this point, we're actually going to be reducing the cost of it from our Cinder Coat. So Vault with Trail of Cinders is definitely going to be the way to go. Strafe with Rocket Storm. Now, you could run Rocket Storm, or you could run Demolition. Demolition is going to give you bouncing grenades that are going to deal a ton of damage, but the thing is Demolition is going to be better in big AoE packs, and Rocket Storm is going to be better for single target packs. That's really just all there is to it. I have found myself with a little bit better clear times, not really timing things, just kind of for feel. You know, I've been finding myself clearing a little bit faster with Rocket Storm versus Demolition, but if you have a really GG map, like one of the one floor rifts, and you just kind of walk in and there's elites everywhere, you will probably be getting better value out of Demolition, so do keep that in mind. Multi-shot with Wind Chill. This is the one skill. Well, there, you know, there's some other skills that I talked about that you can play around with, but multi-shot with Wind Chill is not necessary at all. You could really put whatever you want here, but the thing I like to run multi-shot for is it is going to be chilling the mobs, and it's also going to be giving me a 15% increased chance to critically hit mobs for 3 seconds. So with that said, Wind Chill is going to make sure that you don't have to run the Thrill to Hunt passive. They changed this in the new patch. Enemies hit are going to be slowed by your hatred spenders by 80% per 2 seconds. So when you're strafing around, anything you hit with strafe while you're using this is going to be giving you that Bane of the Powerful buff, or Bane of the Trapped buff, as well as the Call of the Weak buff that I have on my Hellfire Amulet, which is going to increase the damage against slowed or chilled enemies by 20%. So if you're using multi-shot with Wind Chill, you really don't ever have to run Thrill the Hunt. Here's the thing. With this build, up face and in their, or up in the face of the mobs, you know, dealing damage is the way to go, since we are using the Firewalkers and we are using the belt that for every attack we're going to be throwing a dagger at mobs for 650% weapon damage, the Sash of Knives. Being up close and personal is going to be proccing your Bane of the Powerful, or your Bane of the Trapped. It's going to be proccing your Call of the Weak as well. But Wind Chill is going to make sure that while you are running up to those mobs, you're going to be able to throw out your multi-shot, you know, just spray the entire map. You're going to be dealing more crit. You're going to be then getting the bonus from the Call of the Weak and the Bane of the Trapped. So that is a skill that I like to use. But, you know, a lot of people have been running with Chakram with Shurkin Cloud because you cast this once and you're done. You run, you know, like 3-4 rifts, and then you're going to have to cast it again or whatever, you know. If it doesn't drop, I guess, in between rifts. But anyways, it's got a 10-minute duration. Marked for Death would definitely be another option. You could run on Marked with like Contagion or something like that. That would also be pretty good. I messed around with Sentries a little bit. You know, throwing on like Polar Stations or Spitfire turrets to get a little bit more rocket damage. You know, a lot of things work. You could run Fan of Knives, things like that. But multi-shot with Wind Chill is just what I have been preferring to use. Now for the rest of the passives here, Awareness, Hardcore is absolutely mandatory. Archery is very good. It's going to give you more crit. It's going to give you a little bit of hatred per second. You know, when you're using that second-hand crossbow, 1 hatred per second is also going to be generated. If you are using rockets, I would run ballistics. If you are using grenades, I would be running Grenader. Tactical advantage, pretty much an absolute must. You're going to be vaulting around the entire time. If you're standing in one spot for too long, you probably don't have enough damage. And then, as I said, on my Hellfire Amulet, I am running Call of the Weak. Now, I'm going to go over to the gems here real quick because I did not talk about them. I'm going to be using, well, I did some Pain Enhancer. While you're using your COE, you know, you're going to be getting good value out of the Pain Enhancer. Teguk just added survivability, added damage. We're going to be strafing all the time. This is going to be stacking up pretty quick. And then the Bane of the Trapped, which I called Bane of the Powerful about 3 times in this video already, increased the damage against enemies under the effects of crowd impairing effects by, you know, 39%. This is just a tremendous damage bonus to your character. So that's pretty much the build. We're going to run over to the Paragon points, and then we're going to wrap this video up here. You do not need maximum hatred. You do not need vitality, but you are going to need movement speed and dexterity, making sure you're at that 25% cap first. At this point, for the build, to hit the particular breakpoint to give us, just like when we were running with the Natalia stat, you wanted 1 piece of gear with attack speed. The same thing is going to hold true for the strafe build. You're going to want 1 piece of gear with attack speed on it. Then you're going to want to max out your attack speed and your Paragon points. Cooldown and attack speed probably are going to be the things that you're going to want to get first, unless you have a bunch of wasted attack speed on your gear like I do. And then critical hit chance is probably going to be what you're going to be needing more, and then critical hit damage. Defenses, I like to go with all resistance, armor, life percent, life regeneration. Utility, resource cost reduction is going to be mandatory, and then I like to go for life on hit for increased survivability, then area damage, and cold find. So that is the build. It's a lot of fun to run. It's one that you're not going to have to constantly hold down a button to fight mobs. You're just going to be able to strafe around and kill things. It's a lot of fun. You use your buffs, you vault around, you shoot things, and you are good to go. So that's going to be it for me. I am ChromeOnRust for Quarks for Gaming. Thanks for checking out the channel. Like, subscribe if you would. I'm out of here, and you all have a great day. Camera shake.